Part of it, too, is also the offensive plan. Matt Canada has been the guy for 1 year. Here's Mike Tomlin from yesterday on the guy who has been running the offense and presumably will continue to run it in Pittsburgh.
I'm optimistic about Matt and what he's capable of doing. I acknowledge that, we took a step back. There's some obvious, tangible reasons why that occurred. So I'm not going to get into all of that. I'm not going to seek comfort in that. We got to be better. We intend to be. And that's going to require a lot of planning and work, players and coaches.
Yeah, hey, look, they've had issues offensively, and Matt Canada's attraction, or at least the team's attraction to him, came from the fact that, more motion and more creativity. And you've said in the past that was something the Steelers needed to infuse into their offense. But if your offensive line isn't very good,
right,
it is hard to really operate the way you want to. I mean, all things considered, they weren't horrible. I didn't expect them to get to the playoffs. I said they would regret bringing back Ben Roethlisberger by November, and maybe by November they did. They just somehow threaded the needle and got one of the 7 playoff spots, which is still amazing to me in hindsight. The playoff game ultimately showed us they didn't belong there, even though some idiot thought they would win that game. But they got a lot of work to do. And it starts with the quarterback, but there are a lot more pieces they need beyond quarterback.
Yeah, no question. There are. I mean, again, the offensive line, the attitude of the football team, I think still is in the process of changing. I'm sure they would like to get back to being more of a power-running football team, especially with that big back and Najee Harris. Man, he can make a lot of people, miss inside the tackle box. He can, take hits and drive the pile forward and get a lot of cheap yards that way. I mean, he's a really good football player and a real workhorse. I would think they want to go there, certainly. I think the other thing, too, with Matt Canada, it's hard to really evaluate or really know what he is. I took that comment right there with Mike Tomlin when he was talking about, like, hey, there was issues, or I can't remember the exact phrase he said there. I'm not going to get in that, or I'm not going to seek comfort in that. The offensive line, the first thing I came to, too, is really Big Ben Roethlisberger. I'm sure he was a little bit like, wait, I don't want to learn a new offense and have all these shifts and motions and do all this stuff. I'm been here forever. I just keep it the way I've been doing it. So I don't know how much influence Big Ben had also on the fact that maybe Matt Canada couldn't really run the offense he wanted to. And they had to be also cautious or at least realistic in what can Big Ben actually do, at the quarterback position. And I think there's some things you probably had to take off the table as far as scheme-wise with Big Ben this last year because he's incapable of doing it. And like we talked about earlier this year, you had to be careful with some plays because, man, if he held the ball and he started pumping, you heard me on Sundays, I would start going, oh, no, he's pumping, something bad's going to happen. And that would end up interception, strip sack, fumble. So I also think Big Ben handicapped them to a degree as far as what Matt Canada could bring to the table creatively. I do think that was a real issue.
Well, and the other side of it, too, if you have a new quarterback who doesn't feel emboldened to do whatever the hell he wants, maybe you're going to operate a little more within the confines of the offense.
Exactly. Yeah, agreed. I mean, you watched the game the other night, and you're seeing Big Ben here, and, of course, this is one of his greatest moments of the year, bringing them back against the Ravens. But as we talked about a lot, there's so many dink and dunk plays. He looks like he changes so much at the line of scrimmage that I always wonder and go, I mean, did he really have to change that, or did he just change that because that's the play he wanted to run? I'm watching the second half of the game the other night. I didn't look like he got one call from the coach on the sideline. He was calling every play, telling receivers what to do one at a time. It looked like he was running the show. So that's where it's hard to get a feel for what Canada was doing. And, yeah, the offense took a step back because I think they had to kind of placate to, their aging quarterback who was a little limited for sure.
And what are they going to do? They're going to bench him for Mason Rudolph? Again, it gets back to Mason Rudolph. Right. What is your alternative? Right. And I found the quote. I'm not going to read the whole thing.
Yeah.
Phone calls and footlockers, please tell me you have something more, Lieutenant. These two men are on trial for their lives. Please tell me that their lawyer hasn't pinned their hopes to Mason Rudolph.
Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.